Hello, everyone.
Hello, Shannon.
Hello.
How are you?
And well, I see lots of faces popping on, so it's great. But just another minute or so, and then we'll start pretty promptly. I know everyone has an SAU board meeting following this. So Christine Grayson, I know she's not coming, and Amy's not available tonight. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from anyone else, so we'll give it one more second. All right, well, it's 5 o'clock and I like to start on time. So I would like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Like I mentioned before, Amy is unavailable, so I will keep us moving forward tonight. Our first order of business is to approve the February 18th meeting minutes. Would anyone like to make a motion? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gronstra. And can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I heard Victoria first. Does anyone have any discussion? All in favor? Just raise your hand. Excellent. Okay, great. So Amy and I did attend the March Amherst School Board meeting last month to provide updates on behalf of JFAC, and we'll continue to partner with the board moving forward. We will also be attending the Board of Selectmen meetings regularly starting in April. And we'll be reaching out to various committee chairs to assist in specific updates. The Clark Exploration Committee has already begun connecting with the town, and so have members of the PR committee as well. So you'll hear more about that later on in our committee report outs. As Amy mentioned last month, we have a bi-weekly meeting that we're calling the Facility Project Team. So that meeting includes the chair of the Amherst School Board, Beth Kuzma, myself, Amy, Superintendent Steele, and Director of Facilities, Roger Preston. And that meeting is really an effort to keep the work of this group, the school board, and the SAU tightly aligned. She shared last month that we would soon have an RFP process underway. So we have more information to share with you on that front this evening. So Roger or Adam, if I could ask one of you to give an update on the process and the timeline and the next steps with the group.
Sure, I'll throw it to Roger. Roger, go for it.
Thank you. So the RFP is developed and actually goes out at 12 a.m. for tomorrow, actually. And we developed it working together as a group, and we've also reached out to our attorney to make sure that they've reviewed it as well and meets all the aspects that we're looking for as far as protecting the districts and making sure we're just accounting for everything throughout the project. The RFP comes back on April 19th at 1 p.m. for us to review, and then us as an internal committee are going to review on the 20th. And we've set up interviews for three selected architects as we review those bids, where we anticipate we're going to shortlist 3. So we have a timeline of 3 to 6 p.m. on April 22nd to review those and interview those architects.
Thanks, Roger. Does anyone have any questions? Roger.
I have one, Shannon. I guess, Roger, can you just give the dummy proof 30,000 foot view of what is in the RFP? Like just because my first time I've been involved with something like that.
What it is we're just really calling out 6 phases. We outline each phase of the project. And if I pull it up real quickly, we're just asking for what we're calling out for them to do in each phase. The first phase is just really reviewing our contracted documents, the conceptual designs that we have so far. and then just really kind of helping us with pre-bond work as far as the voting phase, making sure we're prepared with that, just getting us any information so that we can be prepared for that. Then once the project is voted through, we go through just the schematic design phase, the design development as far as just really getting into the details, the legwork of it. Then we go into the construction documents, actually developing them and sending them out to bid. And then we go into just the administration phase, and they work with us through that throughout the project, making sure that it's being built. And at the end, we're requesting them to just go out through a closeout phase for us as well, to make sure that we're covered under warranty, everything was built to specifications, and just making sure we have all of the written documents in place.
Okay, I see Stephanie and Adam both have hands up. Stephanie, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. The question I have is, how many architects I'm guessing it's going to be like a New Hampshire, Massachusetts sort of area. How many actually work on schools, out of curiosity?
I have actually a really good list that I searched the DOE website for that they provided for us. And on that website, there's about between 10 and 12 different architects. Some of them are actually more New Hampshire based. We're looking for obviously architects that are licensed in New Hampshire that can build for us. And then we have a couple of Massachusetts based firms in there as well. I can throw that in our Slack channel for us just so you can view. We've solicited all of them they're going out for, and then I've added just a couple more Massachusetts vendors as well, just to kind of making sure we have just equal opportunity between both states, because we are so local to Mass as well.
Yeah.
So I can provide that. It's just a really good list about contact information, and then it goes through the projects that they've done in the past as well. It's a really good list. I actually didn't even know the DOE had it on there until I started browsing the site and found that it was very, very beneficial for us. So it worked out well.
Yeah, I was just curious how easily it was going to get down to 3. So it sounds like it's reasonable number of people who could give a quote and then respond and then get down. Okay, thanks.
Adam?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the committee understands why this is not called a bid. In a bid process, we're looking for lowest price for a commonly purchased good or service. So if we're buying 1,000 sheets of drywall, we would do a bid because the quality of drywall is pretty well established. But like a lawyer or a brain surgeon, we're looking for the right person for us and the best value, right? And so with an architect, price is important to us, but it's not the determining factor alone. So this request for proposals and request for qualifications process is meant for these folks to demonstrate that they didn't just incorporate last week, and our Bob's Discount Architecture isn't going to be able to provide the services that we need for us. So that's why this is not called a bid.
Thanks. That's a great distinction. Thanks for making that. And I'm wondering, so it goes out tonight at midnight. Where will that be publicly so everyone can see it? And can we share it with the Slack to give, for this group?
I can certainly put it on the Slack channel. If you don't mind, I can wait till tomorrow, and
Yeah.
then it's also going to be posted on our website. We have a bid page on there as well. I'm working with Abby to get it up there, so it'll be there as well.
Great. Jeannie.
Yeah, quick question. Because I'm not sure I remember how this works, but do we provide the original drawings that were made? In other words, are they supposed to do whatever we present to them, or are they going to be more creative in coming up with their own solutions to this?
So we're using our conceptual designs that we came up with Lance and LaValle. Those are shared in the RFP. All of the information from the Amherst master plan, the Clark Wilkins master plan, the executive summary, the whole Amherst school executive plan, all of those are documents that are included in the RFP for their viewing. So we're not looking to create more conceptual designs. We're looking at just reviewing what we have at hand and really, if anything, maybe moving some boxes within the envelopes that have created, trying to reduce that envelope if we can, but making sure we're meeting curriculum and the needs of the towns. So it's really what we're looking for.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Anything regarding the RFP? Okay, great. moving along on our agenda, let's see, next up we have the Construction Cost Committee, which is also Roger. Roger, do you have any updates for us? I know we have a resident in town who is volunteering some time to join your committee. Steve Barabee, who's an engineer with the FAA, and his role there is managing construction projects. So another community member in town willing to share some expertise. Is that right?
That is, and that's awesome. The more the better. The more experts we can have on here, that only helps us. So that's wonderful, and I thank him for volunteering. And as far as the cost, we went through the version 2, which kind of led us to this point here, as far as kind of having an administration review, where kind of the next steps, because a lot of questions came out of just the version 2, and we actually met today with Bethany to go over the Amherst project, and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. And we got a lot out of it as far as choosing our priorities and just kind of seeing where this all started and just really reviewing everything that we have at hand. So we're really taking this information that we have, and when we meet with the selected architect, whether we continue with Lance or if it is a new architect, we're really able to provide them with just a little bit more detail about where we want to go with the project, which is not at all changing anything whatsoever. It's working with that conceptual that's been created for us. And then tomorrow we also have that Wilkins review that we're going through. And what I'm getting at as far as cost is this will lead us to an evaluation of just where we are with the conceptuals review with our architect, leading us to a second cost estimate, or I guess third at that point in time, and really just fine tune this.
Great. Any other questions from anyone around the cost committee update? All right, we're rocking along. Next on the agenda is the finance committee.
Victoria did have her hand raised, Madam.
Oh, I'm
Vice Chair.
sorry. Thank you, Adam. Victoria, go ahead. I didn't see you.
My question was just going to be for a little bit of clarification. Whether or not we had gone to bond or not, this would have been a natural next step, correct? To look at what we had in the project and make sure that we could whittle down and choose what we need to and make sure our priorities were all set. Is that correct?
That is correct. And quite frankly, that step doesn't stop throughout this process. As we go and as we're building, we're always evaluating what we're building. We're not changing anything major, but we're always making sure that we're on track of where we want to be and where that vision is. So for me, to answer, I guess it's a constant for me, and will continue to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? And I'm going to look very closely so I don't. Okay, I don't see virtual hands. I don't see anyone waving at me. Great. All right, finance committee. So I think there's a meeting upcoming with the USDA Rural Development Group to discuss alternate funding sources. Is that right, Adam or Michelle, if either of you can provide color there?
That is correct. Michelle, anything you want to add to that? It's a funding source that didn't really exist before because it didn't have funding to support these projects. And so I wasn't aware of it. And thankfully, Michelle was. And so Michelle, add to this if you would.
About the U.S. Rural Development, USDA Rural Development. So there, in the past, they've had some funding from the federal government, but not anything that was substantial enough to actually provide support to school districts or the level of bond issuance that would be required for a facility project. Now they have a substantial pool of funding to work with. And their structure is different as compared to the bond bank. So they actually can partner with the bond bank to provide different funding options, I guess I would call it. Their bonds can go out further than the bond bank can. So it can reduce your payments, on a yearly monthly basis as compared to what the bond bank would do. There's some flexibility with the rating process. But the bottom line is, like, I'm learning about this too. It's relatively new, but Tammy St. Gelais, who's the executive director of the bond bank, brought this to my attention because they had reached out to her to talk about partnering with the bond bank to look at how to structure financing for various building projects. So we have a meeting on the 24th to meet with representatives from the bond bank and from USDA Rural Development to talk more about how their process works for financing, the structure of the financing, and I've asked them to talk a little bit about how they would partner together to provide some options for us in terms of financing those projects. So I don't have a lot of information right now, but it is very intriguing that there's some flexibility there. They also, one other thing that to mention is that the bond bank, you commit to a bond issue and you have to go out when they are issuing. There's a little more flexibility with that with USDA, and you can commit to future issues and not have to actually secure the bond until you're ready, if that makes sense. They would require some interim financing, and then when your project is complete, you actually bond it, which might work better as well if there's an option to have a building aid, and you can prepay. I mean, or you can pay down on the bond too, which you cannot do with the bond bank. So there are some benefits to considering that as an option.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Next up on the agenda, we have an update from Victoria Parisi, Chair of the Clark Exploration Committee.
Yes. So we're off to a great start. It's been one of those weeks where you get going and all of a sudden you realize like we've got a plan and we're moving forward. And I appreciate everything that this group has allowed us to do. The four of us on this subcommittee, myself, Christine Grayson, Jeannie Lute, and Josh Conklin, have met and we've decided to break into smaller groups, everyone who we want to be able to talk to about the Clark School property. So our first group was the town, and we met with a variety of town officials, different members of boards, people who work there at town hall. And it was a great meeting. It was one of those meetings where you're just feeling like everything went pretty well. Everybody's in a positive light. And we're really connecting on what's going on. So at that meeting, we were invited by the chair, Peter Lyon, to come back to the Board of Selectmen meetings in the future, ourselves as the Clark Group or JFAC. So as Shannon had already mentioned earlier, I've connected with Shannon and Amy, and we're making sure that we're going to be on those schedules to keep that moving. And that was great. We're going to keep connected with that group in a variety of ways and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Our second group is coming up next week, and those are the real estate agents. So we're going to be talking about the Clark School and site and what that could look like in terms of the property in relation to the sales options. So we will find out some information. It's a variety of real estate agents here around town who have been recommended to us as people who are interested in this type of project. So it should be another good meeting. We're looking forward to it. And then the question that a lot of people say is, well, what about all the neighbors? What about all of the residents of the town? And we hear you, and we know that those people are then next. So we kind of looked at our whole group of stakeholders as like an onion, right? Like we're peeling back all these different layers. And rather than having one massive meeting where nobody's voice really gets heard, we're going to be breaking into a lot of small meetings. So within the next month, lots of different people around town are going to be contacted by this Clark subcommittee. We're calling ourselves the Clark School Exploration Subcommittee. And I do want to read an official mission statement, which is we're trying to make sure that we guide what our purpose is, because we're going to be interfacing with a lot of different people in the community who might not know exactly what our purpose is, because our purpose is not to determine exactly what happens. So I'm just going to read this from paper because I don't have it memorized. Excuse me, it says, to gather input from community experts and stakeholders on possible ways to utilize the Clark School building and site should the proposal by the Amherst School District to build a new elementary school to house pre-K through 5th grade be approved by the voters in the future. So it's very, very official. And I know that for all of you who are on this meeting, you know that this is what we were doing. But I think it's really important for us to make sure that the community knows exactly what our purpose is. So I would just encourage everyone, if anybody is watching this meeting and you want to be included on a smaller meeting about the future of Clark, to please email me directly. My email is Parisi, Parisi at sau39.org. We want to make sure that, if somebody really wants to be involved and have their voice heard, that they are. But I also want everybody to know that you will have a chance to have your voice heard at a larger JFAC meeting type of concept in the future. So in the next month, we should be hearing a lot of feedback, and we're excited about it.
It is very exciting. Does anyone have any questions for Victoria or comments? I just want to say thank you for the work that your committee has. You guys have started off with a bang, and I think it's a really important piece of the project. And I'm excited for the work that you guys are doing. I like the approach that you're taking. I think it's the right approach, and I'm excited, to partner what the Clark Exploration Committee is doing. And we talked about this last night, which leads us into our PR update. To make sure that we're really lining up together those two committees, because they really do overlap. And the Clark Exploration Committee is going to be talking with a lot of different folks. So I know they're doing a great job in providing some background information about JFAC and of how this whole project started and developed. I'm excited to share from a PR committee update that Tom has agreed to vice chair that committee with me. So thank you, Tom. As we're picking up steam, it's really an all hands on deck effort. And, we're all wearing many different hats. So we're meeting weekly now as a committee for checking in. We have a postcard that's in the works that has been signed off on. We've had the SA legal group has looked over it. So that is targeted to go out in April. And the postcard is and I will share this with everyone for review before it goes out, but it is to drive folks to the website, the YouTube channel, the Nixle channel, where else? A few other places, I think, but basically a social media, so that they can follow us along throughout this process over this year. What we talked a lot about in our subcommittee was, okay, we have a website, there's information there. We have like a Facebook page and there's information there, but what about this large pool of voters who may not be connected in that way? How do we get it out to them? Citizens not going to mailboxes. We've talked about it in this meeting. So we felt strongly that we needed some sort of information mailer to go in everyone's mailbox that just kind of makes them aware this is coming March 2022, and that is very big and bold, so that there's no confusion with the June vote, and follow us along and follow our work here. So that's a big exciting thing. What else? Tom's working on the first in a series of videos that will launch in April on our YouTube channel. So those videos are really going to focus on the needs in the district and the process that we're going through, kind of a conversational style, similar to the virtual tour that we launched last year. Ellen is now also an administrator on the JFAC Facebook page. So again, just using that as an information channel to remind folks of upcoming meetings and all of those things. Really, again, just trying to, cast a really big net so we can communicate with a lot of different people. Lisa Eastland has also reached out to the town to see if there's some way we can incorporate something into their meetings. And they've suggested that maybe we could post a video on their Vimeo channel, which folks who watch town meetings are used to going there. So we'll be working on something for that. Tom's coordinating our any facility updates through the Amherst School Board's letter to the editors. So we're partnering there. And I think that's it from PR, but if I'm missing something, Tom, feel free to jump in, or Ellen, Jeannie, Victoria. Okay, any questions around PR efforts? Great. Okay, so our last item on the agenda then would be board updates if there are any. So I'll go to Stephanie and Pim first. Do you guys have any 2.0 or anything from Souhegan to share?
So there's 3 things that were in 2.0 that we are trying to take care of. The science labs, we've decided, I think we mentioned this before, decided to put those into a warrant article for next February, or actually next March, a year from now. And then the front entrance security and the locker room upgrades are actually currently part of the budget. Should the budget get defeated and we go to a default budget, we will look to see if there are some funds within the unexpended fund balance that we can utilize for those, hopefully both of those projects, but we'll have to see. So obviously it comes down to the budget passing or not, and then we have a very short window to meet and agree on spending funds if we have them available. That's it.
Shannon, can I just talk about Souhegan 2.0 real quick?
Please.
So Victoria was chairing the Souhegan 2.0 committee, and since she's moved on to the Clark Exploration Committee, I was asked to step in and help run that group. So we're down 1 person. So if anybody is interested in joining, Jeannie, I'm assuming you still want to stay on. And we have Lisa Eastland. So if there's somebody else who wants to join us, be more than happy to have another member, because I want to reach out to Mike and kind of get the conversation started, since I know he's working really hard on working on the 9th, 10th grade programs and all the other administrative work. So let me know if you're interested.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Pim or Stephanie? So that's great. So the science labs then will be a warrant article in March 2022.
Correct.
Yeah, we're expecting the dollar amount to be significant enough. We're probably going to put it that way.
Yeah, we want to put all 3 labs and do them all at once, so, instead of piecemealing.
All right, Tom or Ellen, is there anything from the Amherst board?
I don't think anything in particular at this point that I can think of. I will say that we are going to be reviewing our overall budget again at the April meeting with some kindergarten enrollment numbers that came back. Adam had informed us about that at our March meeting. So that'll be the focus of the April meeting, getting that number finalized so that we can get everything squared away to present in May at deliberative. So that's the big work session that we'll have at the next meeting.
It's 5:27. I feel like I must have missed something. I see you all smiling, but nobody's opening their mouth. So we're good. Okay, awesome. So then it sounds like for next month, we'll have an update on where we are with the RFP. We will have an update from the Finance Committee following the March 24th meeting. The Clark Exploration Committee is certainly going to have a lot of updates, it sounds like. So that is all exciting. And I look forward to seeing you all next month. I feel like we're moving into a period now where these larger group meetings are really just report outs. All of the subcommittees are moving nicely and rocking along. So thank you so much to everyone for all of your time and talent.
Can I ask
Jamie.
one quick question? You have me intrigued, Tom, in terms of numbers. You were talking about kindergarten. Are we going up, down?
Numbers are higher than what we anticipated, upwards of maybe 140. Is that the correct number, Adam? 142, something like that. And I think we had originally estimated around 120, but with homeschoolers, kids that were delayed this year, and more kids in the district than on the original census, that number is higher than what we had put in the original budget. So we're going to just review some options, and Adam said he's going to have a plan for us on whatever April day it is that we have the meeting.
Great, thank you.
We're working with the Amherst Preschool to see if they can retain a number of children in preschool for another year.
So Adam, I'm curious, do we know that number that Tom just mentioned, how many of those students are new to town families? Do we have any idea?
Well, that's where the issue has arisen, is we have a significant number of folks that have already registered for kindergarten who did not appear on the census, meaning that they've moved to town since the time the census was taken. So that's really what our issue is that we're anticipating that the class will be higher than we expected. We also know that there were a number of families due to COVID who decided to delay kindergarten for a year and wait for the in-person environment to be better. So for both of those reasons, we anticipate higher than expected kindergarten.
And because kindergarten is the only grade where they have to enroll, like we don't know yet what that's going to do to the other grades, like new families to town with grade school kids, do we?
Yeah, there's so two other impacts. First grade is probably going to be a little higher as well, because some people that skipped kindergarten will just enroll in first grade directly, as opposed to, because kindergarten's not required in some cases. And there was a large contingent of people who homeschooled their children this year. And we've already started to get some of those kids back. We've had about 10 kids re-enroll just in the last month back into our schools that were homeschooled for part of the year. So both of those things portend a enrollment increase next year throughout our grade levels.
I guess I was just kind of wondering how, enrollment projections, if what we're working on, the projections we're working off of for our plan, if they've dramatically or materially shifted based on an influx of families to town. I mean, I think we have accounted for that in the plan, but that's kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The other thing that we have to acknowledge is every town that builds something has an enrollment increase as well. And so that should be anticipated by us as well. Just about every single town that builds a school builds it too small. I'm just going to say that.
All right, great. Well, thank you all. And you folks who have another meeting to go to at 6, you can now eat dinner in between, because I am adjourning this meeting at 5:31. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
See you next month.